Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everyone? I think we should be rolling live. I think we have a few people on. It's been a few weeks. It's Doug Cunnington here, and welcome. I see we have J Vlog on, which is great. Say hello. Everyone say hello in the chat there. Let me know that you can hear me. And if you're watching later, please leave a comment. It's always good to get comments. In fact, you can leave questions, which I go and I get ideas from those questions, and then I do a video. Maybe I do a blog post or a podcast, or maybe all of those. So do leave a comment. And even though you may hear me mention, I get some similar questions often, it's great if you leave any question at all. It is fantastic. We got a few things we're going to talk about today and several sort of announcements, things for you to check out. You can ask questions as well. And we got Joe Mack on in the chat also. So I'm going to jump in quick because I know actually more people end up watching the replay later. So there's a handful of things. I'm definitely going to talk about these couple jaw-dropping, as I called them, income reports from a couple friends of mine from May, and they are $40,000 in profit, and then another income report with $19,000 in profit as well. All right, it's crazy. It's really crazy. But we're gonna look at them. We're gonna look at them a little bit. Next, I bought a site just a couple days ago from some of my friends over at Humanproof Designs, and I'm doing a case study. So I guess this serves as the announcement. So I'm doing a case study with Humanproof Designs. I'm buying everything, and in many cases, you're going to hear me mention I'm buying products, I'm doing things, I'm testing things out as a customer, not as a person, as a blogger or as a YouTuber or something like that, trying to get free products or something like that. I'm paying for all this stuff, and then I'm testing it out. And I will share my story. I will tell you the process that I'm going through. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to ramble on. Some of the announcements that I definitely need to mention are the announcements are, number one, on Tuesday, May 11th. May 11th on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, I'm doing a free webinar. All right, doing a free webinar on hiring writers from Upwork. I recently published a post over on my site, Niche Site Project. By the way, if let me know, do you read my blog as well, or do you only watch videos? Just curious. Leave it in the chat. Leave a comment. Just curious, like if there's some folks that just stick on YouTube and they don't really go over to the blog. So I'm doing a free webinar. You do need to sign up. It is free. I'm actually not even selling anything. Just going over the process, and I will be talking about the specifics of this case study where a student of mine from Five Figure Niche Site published 84 posts in 90 days hiring writers from Upwork. She has a lot of skills in hiring people, freelancers specifically, and she has a writing background. So she comes at it at a different angle than I do. So I'll talk about results. So not only traffic going up in that webinar, but also the earnings. So she recently crossed over the $500 per month mark, which technically, per a conservative valuation, puts that at a five-figure niche site, which is really cool. It's under a year. That's because the valuation of a site is roughly like 20 to 30 plus X the monthly profit. So she's in that five-figure niche site range, which is cool. We'll also talk about how to create a job listing that gets attention so people will actually apply. We'll also talk about how to get great content from experts. So not just any old writer, but experts in your specific niche. And then I share all the templates as well. I got Georgie sitting under me, so I don't have many places to put my feet, but she does keep my feet warm. So welcome everyone. I see some more people are hopping on. We have Duke. Thank Duke for being a moderator and taking care of things. So, a couple other announcements, and we again feel free if people are just joining in to the chat here. Feel free to ask questions. I'll hop over there in a second. And again, thank Duke for moderating over there, keeping order, and some of the other folks that may join up as well. So, two places that I encourage you to check out. And if you, there's links in the description, by the way. So there are a lot of links in the description. Everything I'm talking about, you probably get to it in the description, but you have to go check it out. So the two income reports that I want to point you towards, one is from the Fat Stacks blog. That's John Dykstra, friend of mine. We haven't met in person, but I think I may be in his area over the summer. So I may be able to meet him in person. Anyway, he is doing really well. And as you can see pretty clearly from the title of this video, he made about 40K, over 40K in May. He's doing really well. He does income reports, and they're not as thorough as the next income report that I'm going to mention. There's less narrative and stuff, but it hits all the beats, and you kind of see where the money's coming in from, where the money's going, and you get a handle on like the scope of what he's doing. He outlined 7 different niche sites that he runs, and like you may already be speculating, most of the income comes from just one site. So the others, they have the potential to grow, of course, but a lot of times people just have like one site that does really well. All right. Next, the other income report to point out is from my friend Ron Stefanski, and Ron has been on the channel a couple times. He may be he will be making some more appearances. I recorded another episode with him earlier this week. So he actually had a record month, and his income reports are very thorough. There's a lot of narrative in there, a lot more personal stuff. So it's just different, not that one's better than the other. But Ron, I can't remember exactly his gross revenue. It's in the mid 20,000s, and then his profit was about 19,000. So I encourage you to take a look at both of those income reports to be inspired. Both of those guys are, they're good guys. They're not actually they don't even sell much stuff. Like every now and then they'll push something like myself, but they're not like selling a dream of like easy money or anything like that. These guys work really hard. They've been doing it for years, and they've been putting the time in. And one thing to note about the Fat Stacks blog, definitely sign up for his email list. I'm on his email list. I read all the emails, and I don't sign up for many email lists these days, but John has really good material that he sends out. And I know several people, follow him in the chat right now. So I'm going to hop over to the chat, see what's going on. And Joe Mack, what's going on? We have Wad Dude says, what's a good way to find non-affiliate content for our niche site? And you read the blog. Great. Thanks for reading the blog. Finding non-affiliate content, I assume you mean non-affiliate topics. I would recommend, I'll give you a couple ideas. Number one, you can find a site that covers like many different topics. So maybe they're in the affiliate space, but they have just informational content as well. So you can go check out a site like that and just look at what they're publishing, right? If you want to be a little more sophisticated about it, you can use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever to see what keywords they may be ranking for. So those will give you some ideas. Additionally, you can use those same tools to check out forums in that general topic area. And forums a lot of times will have stickies, right? They'll just have informational content that's organized pretty well after they've seen all the questions that people ask about a specific topic. then you have plenty of ideas. Usually it's formatted pretty well, and you could actually like point a writer to that information and say, hey, write some content around these topics here. So that would be a good way. House and Garden says you watch and read. Very cool. And then Jay says you read the blog. The Upwork hiring templates were helpful. Awesome. And Linus says, and that's Echo there, says, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good today. Had multiple technical issues through the day, and just little frustrating pieces that, just little problems. Cause I was like, oh, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Next thing you know, I was like trying to, I don't pay many bills for my business account, except for like my accountant and a couple other things where I can't pay with a credit card. So I was like trying to figure out like how to do bill pay, like send a check, right? It's been around for, I don't know how many years, right? Super long time, like basically since the beginning of like, online banking, like you could do some kind of bill pay. And like Capital, I think it's Capital One. I have a Spark checking account. So they don't have bill pay anymore. It's like it blows my mind. I was like, that's pretty fucking basic, right? Like I called in, I was like, where is this? And I'm like, that's a super basic piece of functionality, right? Like, where did it go? And they're like, we ended it in February. I'm like, thinking like any free checking account has bill pay on it. So I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure I'm just going to like close the account. I mean, it's a minor piece of functionality. I don't need it that often, but I don't want to get like a checkbook and I only have to write like a check once a year, maybe. Like, I don't even know. So anyway, I think it's kind of stupid. I have no idea how they're a huge company. I have a lot of money with Capital One. I'm just like, can you guys not give me a free fucking like bill pay account? It's bananas. All right. So that's not why Linus sent me a message though. He says, have you been affected by the Google update? I have not. So far, so good. I haven't noticed anything go up or down. I haven't checked my traffic today, but things seem stable. Now, Linus is telling me that you have had a huge drop in traffic from about 80 visitors per day to 80 to 100 to about 10 to 20. What should you do? Well, I would say be patient. Typically, we don't really know what's going on with these um, updates until time passes. Things get rolled back. They can get rolled back in days, they can get rolled back in months. You don't really know. Now, my observation from a couple, it's pretty anecdotal, but my observation is the people that seem to have been impacted are people who typically don't build any backlinks or anything like that. So they have like zero to no links on their site. So Linus, did you have or do you have any backlinks going to your site? And yeah, typically that's my observation like over the past year. I mean, I know there are other sites that are impacted too, but like usually it's like they have like no backlinks, they may have like okay content and then whatever. All right, we got Richard on. What's going on? Good to have you. And then Traffic Mania. um Joe Max says, I deleted a blog post and it appears in the Google search to a broken link. What's the best practice to make it not show up? So, usually, not always, but usually Google will figure out that it's like not there anymore. Um, if there is something more relevant, the best practice is to 301 redirect it to whatever's more relevant. If there's nothing relevant and it was like a mistake and it it was published at one point and then you're not going to put anything there and it doesn't need to be there and it was just a mistake, um it's a or it's not a redirect, but it's a 410 code. In both cases I believe you can create or you can edit, you can append to your ht-access file, which could be dangerous. But you could change your ht-access file and just note that URL. There is probably, I'm not super familiar with the new Google Search Console, but I suspect there may be a way for you to just remove that one URL and say, like, don't index this URL, and then it'll go away. So to really answer your question, I don't know the best practice, but it kind of depends on like what happened and why it's there. But in general, that's kind of the idea. Also, like I said, Google will probably like figure it out just over time. And let's see here. Oh, and we see Alex there from Brazil. You emailed me about mentoring. Yes, is that you sent the testimonial, right? Because you hit some health issues and stuff. Yeah, I have your email, and I have. Oh, this is just random. This is the third part of the things that I'm going to talk about. Basically, um, I'm probably going to be hiring like an executive assistant soon because emails are a real struggle for me. So I do a pretty good job on like my course, like support. I have a VA who helps me with that. And then it's pretty, I mean, I don't have a huge number of students, so it's pretty easy for me to hop in, answer the emails I need to, and, go on with my day. However, the other emails, I get bogged down because I get a lot of emails from people who are not my student, not my customer, and they're just like, "Hey, Doug, like I want to ask you this question that I could easily Google myself," and that slows me down. Even to go through them and like archive them and ignore them or whatever, it takes me a lot of time. So, Alex, I'm sorry that I've been delayed, but for me, whatever you sent me was a pretty low priority. I mean, I asked you for a favor, right? I asked you to provide a testimonial, and then a long period of time went by, and I currently don't need the testimonial like immediately, but I am updating that page soon. So there's certain priorities, and that specific priority was lower. Hence, I haven't sent the email back to you yet saying, "Hey, I received it." But thank you for checking in. I appreciate the testimonial, number one. And by the way, I mean, I do site audits, and actually, I had a pretty cool. I can't mention too much about it. It's all confidential, of course, but it's really cool when I tell people to keep in touch with me. Let me know when you make the changes, if you see results, or if you don't, because I need to understand like why that didn't work. But it was awesome because I think about 2 months ago, I audited someone's site. I think they were making about $300 to $400 a month on their site, and I mean, it's a pretty young site. It wasn't their first site, but I think the site was only like 3-4 months old. They're making $400 or so. I audited their site, gave them sort of a critique on some conversion points, especially like the layout and the formatting and the way to present the information and the links. Their traffic has been about the same, so I didn't really analyze the traffic. They were fine on the SEO side. They know what they're doing there. So I gave them probably like 5 things to update. They updated it on their site. Traffic has remained about the same, but the revenue went up to about $600 a month. So it's awesome. And Wadu says, the webinar is during working hours. Will there be a recording? Yes, there is a recording. Since I'm not selling anything, I mean, it'll be great for people to attend, but it's not high pressure. So if you can't catch it, I'm not trying to, rope people in and keep them on and like, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything helpful. It's generally all helpful. And then, I've been on some of those webinars where they don't don't tell you really anything helpful. They just tell you about a bunch of results, and then at the end, they're like, "Oh, we're going to tell you this huge big secret, like the actual real secret." And there's no secret, you know. Anyway, yeah, there's a replay. Just sign up, and then you're able to you'll get some emails, right? So you'll get emails about the webinar, and you'll be able to after it's done several hours later, you'll get a link to watch the replay. All right. So I know a lot of people just joined up, and one of the main things I wanted to cover was that webinar that Wadude just asked about. And it's on hiring writers. Turns out that is an extremely popular topic. It was very interesting. I was sending out an email to my email list, and it was very interesting because the number of opens on the case study email for publishing 84 posts in 90 days was much higher than some of the other emails that I've sent out that I thought would potentially be more popular, like an email with a dollar amount in the title, right? But I was just like publishing content, super, I guess it was really, really interesting to people. And there were a very high number of clicks, especially for my particular list, although I've cleaned it up recently. I got a 7.8% click rate over to the post, which is really high. Like I haven't had something that high in quite a while. I mean, if I'm in the 4 to 5% range, I'm pretty happy. I mean, people are really interested in the topic. So in that case, yeah, people are interested in content. Hence, I knew that this would be a good topic to do a webinar on. And if you are just joining up, don't forget to check out the income reports from John Dykstra over at Fat Stacks blog. There's a link in the descriptions. There is a link in the description, and also the 1 Hour Professor. All right, couple questions are popping in. Again, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we can talk a little bit about why I haven't been doing as many live streams. And I see there's not as many people as normal on here, I don't think, although the view is a little different. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, a couple questions. Cleaning Things says, what if you have a blog post, but you'd like to break it up into different articles? How do you delete that post? Well, you have a few options there. If you want to leave some of the main content on the same URL, you could leave it there and then break up the other content however you want to. If you want to do away with that post completely and the URL, then you would delete it or whatever. You can like potentially 301 redirect it to wherever you want it to go. Or again, if actually it's all the same answer as before, or if you want to just get rid of it and it's not going to be replaced, but these new posts are going to be there instead, then maybe you do the 410 code. All right, Jay says, I found a site that you'd like to model your site after. How would one do a bit of research on it to see if it's worthwhile? So there's a few ways. You can look at the search volume for keywords that you're ranking for. That's pretty straightforward. The thing is, you may find a site. Actually, I've seen this a couple of times. Someone finds a site that they're like, oh, I want to make my site look like this one. And then I go look at the traffic and the estimated traffic on a tool like SEMrush, for example. And there's not much traffic. It doesn't mean the site is bad or the topic is bad or the niche is a non-profitable one or anything like that. But it's just, it doesn't have any traffic. So you can do that but it doesn't necessarily give you a good idea. But the search volume will tell you like more in a more complete way, like is it getting a lot of traffic or overall, right? Is the overall niche like worthwhile? So um, I would say that I would use a tool like SEMrush. And another thing to mention is a lot of I mean, it's written in the description, which you would have to click, but basically any of the products that I'm mentioning, I'm probably an affiliate for them. So I get a commission if you purchase through my link, which I appreciate. And let's see, we got some joker over here in the chat posting something stupid. How do I just kick this person out? I want to report. Yeah, that's spam, I guess. All right. So a couple other things we got going on. I already complained about the bank stuff. Oh, this is super exciting. Um, and I mentioned it really briefly at the beginning, but I recently purchased a site from Humanproof Designs, and people may be thinking, Doug, I've seen your video and your blog post where you're like, done for you site usually isn't a good idea. Why are you doing that? And the answer is I wanted to check it out. So you may also realize the video and blog post on that topic from me is a couple years old. And basically, I have a certain amount of information, and I had a certain amount of information at the time. I have more information now. I haven't tried one of those sites personally. I was only working off um, like my experience up until that point and what other people were telling me. So I was like, I have some assumptions and I want to test those assumptions. What better way? And as I mentioned before, I bought it, right? So I didn't like take a free you know a free site so that I can like talk nice about it. I want to be able to speak about the products and what I think of the products and just be candid and straightforward. So I believe paying for them is a good idea so that I can speak freely. I won't owe them anything. So I got a site from Humanproof Designs. I'm planning on doing a pretty like large scale case study. There will be future videos coming out. There will be blog content. There's going to be podcasts. I'm probably going to try to tell other people about this as well and potentially be on other podcasts. If you're a fan of podcasts and you listen to them and you think the podcast that you like may be interested in hearing this case study, let them know. Let me know. We may be able to work together on it. But anyway, the general idea is I've purchased an aged site. Number one. Number two, I often get questions about services that I use, and a lot of the time I can't really give a good recommendation because a lot of times I just hire freelancers directly. But to be able to recommend services, I have been testing out several services. So part of this case study is using services to execute almost everything. So I have the general game plan that I want to do. Um, and I think it'll probably deviate a little bit from what Human Proof Designs typically recommends. But I've seen some really good case studies from them with aged sites recently, and I was like, I could probably do that, right? And I know a lot of people are just actually I see this a lot. Man, it's probably partly my fault, but I've never said don't build backlinks or backlinks suck or anything like that. But a lot of people build a site, they use KGR, and they don't build any links, and it's mostly fine until something happens, and then their site drops because they don't have any backlinks. They don't get any more traffic and all that kind of stuff. So essentially, the idea is to test out services, outsource almost everything, keyword research, content, link building, the whole like generally that's it. So have the site built, getting it transferred like today. Like I literally just bought it like 2 days ago. I got the hosting yesterday from SiteGround. And then I also um, I sent over the information so they could transfer the site. So I should have it pretty soon. And because it's an age site, I feel pretty good about starting link building right away, and getting content going right away. Now, part of like this process was for me to do some pre-testing of these services before I, set out to do this whole case study. And when you step back, like it makes sense, right? I hope. Um, so I'm going to do like this multi-step process by the site, keyword research, then content, then link building. So instead of testing it while I was doing the whole case study, I tested individual pieces ahead of time on sites that I already had. So I already know what content company I'm going to use. I already know what link building company I'm going to use. And luckily, Humanproof Designs does the keyword research. There's already content on there. There's already content ranking, right? It's already getting traffic and stuff. And I will probably hire them to do a little more keyword research for me, so I could take those keywords, give it to the content company. They will publish everything, and generally it'll be hands off. I don't know exactly what to expect, but I see a couple people mention, like Brandon says, you purchased a Humanproof Design site and it began ranking faster than some of the other services. They have well-trained writers that know about the KGR. Cool. So, and I think, that probably was like a huge deal to be able to like create a pre-made or create a done for you site that has keywords ranking, right? Versus going to a place like Flippa where you could buy a pre-made site and then it's just like garbage content. And then, I mean, it's obviously way cheaper, but it's not going to rank. You end up with more things to fix than actually like an asset. So that's the general idea. Very excited about the case study. I think there's going to be a lot of like cool information out of it as well. All right. Cleaning Things says, do you use ClickBank? Not really. I'm assuming you're asking if I use ClickBank operating as an affiliate. I have in the past, but I generally don't. No. Alex is asking, what do I say about choosing between a low value product and a high value product? Is it worth it to promote low value products? Yes, I believe it is. I think it's great to have a site where you can have a blend of products, blend of product prices as well. If you only have very expensive items, then people don't buy those as often. That's just how it goes. So I think a blend is good. Over 100 isn't necessarily a high value. I think if you have the average price in the like $100 give or take range, that's pretty good. People could buy that without thinking about it too much, and there are going to be some premium products in that category, so that's good. Next. Hi, everyone says, do I focus on ranking info articles as well? Yes. And also, have I tried Hoth to get backlinks? Yes. I've been testing them out. So, hi, everyone. Are you on my email list? You're on the live streams often. I recognize your name. And if you are on the email list, you would know. You should sign up for the email list, number one. But you should read those emails, because I mentioned last Friday, that I have been testing out the Hoth for some backlinking with guest posts. Again, another situation where I had data from like 2-3 years ago, actually like 3-4 years ago, on the guest post service that the Hoth had, and it was mixed results. So I checked it out a little bit. I had some friends testing a few services, and it was pretty tough, pretty tough to, get some links that you were happy with. It was hit and miss. Hoth was the best back then, but it was still hit and miss. So I've been testing them out over the last couple months, and it's been really impressive. I have some insane links that where they really over delivered. Again, paid for paid for the service, right? And really impressed with how they've upped their game. The big thing is they've given you the ability to pick your criteria for the guest post. So previously it was just based on domain authority, which is the Moz metric. It's a little antiquated. I hear it could be more accurate nowadays, but I haven't looked very closely. So DA, pretty old school metric and not as accurate as so many of the other metrics out there. However, the Hoth now gives you the ability to choose your criteria. So it could be DA or traffic, organic traffic based, independent of like the authority. So, and by the way, you can't have you can't have it both ways, because I've offered a guest posting service, and some clients are like, I want it to have a high DA and a lot of traffic, and I want it to be cheap. It's like, go find it yourself, go do it yourself, which is why I'm not doing the service anymore, by the way. I have a bad attitude, clearly. But the Hoth, they have really good customer service and a much better attitude. And now you could choose if it's more important to you to have a site that gets 50,000 visitors a month, like organic traffic, you can order it. It's right, like you can get it. So that's what I've been doing, and that I think that is one of the big game changers, right? So if in the past, if you were just looking for high metrics, like you can get a high metric site, and it may or may not be a good one. But if it's a site that is actually getting traffic, and you can go look at the stats, and you can see, oh, they get 80,000, 100,000. I ended up with I chose the criteria of organic traffic, and I ended up on a site that gets actually I don't know how much traffic. It is a very extremely huge site, so I imagine they're in the like millions of visitors per month. Like they completely over delivered, so it's fantastic. All right, cleaning things says you have a website that's over a year old. It's making $10 a month. Okay. You hate the niche and none of the content is ranking. How would I go about selling it? It's 27 articles. It's in the health niche. I would just say fuck it and move on. It's not even worth your time. So I would just delete everything, turn off the auto renew on the domain, and just call it a sunk cost. If you're going to try and sell it, you're not going to get much money for it. So I would just not do any. I would just delete it and just quit. Right. Which that actually brings me to a good topic about sunk cost, because I think we could probably talk about that like at length, like sunk cost, and like, what do you do when your first site doesn't work out and that sort of thing. Because sunk cost, it's really hard to get past. You're like, well, I put time in, there's some intrinsic value, the site's making $10 a month and blah, blah, blah. Like you're just better off just calling it a lesson learned, and then you're fine. So yeah, I wouldn't do anything with it. If you really wanted to sell it, you potentially could go to Flippa. All right. You can go to Flippa. You can also maybe in Facebook groups where they allow that. And then the problem with those is like you're going to then have to deal, right? So you're asking this question, so that tells me you probably don't know like what to do exactly to transfer the site over, and like dealing with the technical aspect of like migrating a site to another owner and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, it would take you many hours to figure out exactly what to do. So again, that's another reason to just move on and delete it. So is that helpful, cleaning things, or were you looking for a different answer? Yeah, most of the time it's like, it's just really hard to move on. I've had so many sites like that where it's like, oh, I don't want to give it up. There's potential here. I like the topic. I know I just need to do X, Y, and Z, and then it'll be better. And then, 2 years go by, and then it's still sitting there. So cleaning things, actually, I'll turn it around on you. How have you gone about trying to sell it? What has worked or not worked? And maybe that can be how I can help you more, right? So what have you tried? Have you tried anything with like Flippa yet? Or yeah, I mean, if it's only making $10 a month, it maybe is like a net loss every month, depending on how much your hosting cost. Okay. All right. So a couple other things, and I see we probably have a few more people on here. Um, uh, the new like streaming stuff on YouTube's a little funny. What one thing I like to do, I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but one thing I like to do is to schedule a live stream and then have it listed as like an upcoming event. And I believe on the new like streaming like application, you can't do that. It just like goes live and then it doesn't inform people. Now, the notifications are weird. I'm not really 100% sure how it all works. Anyway, the point is I'm using like the old school Google Hangouts to do this, and then it doesn't really tell me like how many people are on, which is kind of weird. I have to like look. No one cares about this, but I'm just rambling on. So if you just joined up, by the way, free webinar next Tuesday, Tuesday, May the 11th. I can't get the date out. This is insane. Tuesday, May 11th. It is during, I can't remember what time I scheduled it for. It's on the page. So you can just go look at it. There's a link there. I'm not pushing anything, not selling anything. I'm going to be going over hiring writers from Upwork. So we'll talk about that. Additionally, I'm sure a lot of people hopped on because they saw the jaw-dropping income report stats, and you'll want to check out Fat Stack's blog, John Dykstra over there. Definitely sign up for his email list. He writes some good emails. It's witty. He's bald. He has a lot going on for him. And he's making good money these days. So 3 for 3. And then you got 1 Hour Professor. That is Ron Stefanski. And he has been on the channel a couple times. We just recorded another episode, and he'll be I think a frequent guest host. I'll give him the guest host title in future episodes and stuff like that. Oh, and I almost forgot. I was able to set up some time with our good buddy Alex Cooper over at WP Eagle. So with my, general, like overextending myself, being busy, then moving, taking some time off and all that stuff. I hadn't talked to Alex in a pretty long time. We comment on each other's videos like every now and then, but as YouTube creators, we don't necessarily watch like each other's videos like all the time, which is fine. We see headlines, we see what's going on. But anyway, Alex and I talked. We're going to be doing some collaborations. He has a really cool case study going on, like public live case study. And we have some cool stuff coming up, little collaboration and stuff like that. So that should be pretty fun. It was good catching up with Alex. Seems to be doing well. And if you haven't checked out WP Eagle, do check it out. He actually talks a lot about WordPress and themes and stuff like that. He covers the more technical side, but also he does a lot with Amazon affiliate sites, which is how we connected. And we've done a few collaborations. One big one with the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass. So that's pretty cool. If you haven't seen that, I think there's a link in the description, or you can just Google it. You can find that stuff. All right, Alex says, my content is amazing. Thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, Cleaning Thing says you haven't tried selling it. Okay. Yeah, I would probably not sell it. I would just burn it to the ground, move on, take what you learned, and go from there. And then the number one thing to try to sell it is to try to sell it. So if you actually want to try and sell it, you should go out there and research the different platforms that you may be able to sell it on. So like Flippa, look at the technical aspects of what you maybe would have to do. But my guess is it's not going to be worth your time, and you'll be better off spending that time building something new. And yeah, I mean, $10 a month and you don't like it, and there's a lot of negatives going on with it. So yeah, I would just move on from there. All right. Alex says you're currently making less than $50 a month with your site. You have $2,000 you can invest. What are my thoughts on investing? So you get two main areas that you can invest in. So one's content, the other one is links and promotion. I would look at what you have in place already. So if you have a lot of content and it's doing really well, then link building, right? And you're happy with the content. If you're making $50 a month, I don't know if it's doing really well or not. I don't remember your site specifically or anything like that, Alex. Um, so I would look at those two areas, figure out where you're lacking the most, and then try to build it up from there. A lot of times, and I mean, $2,000 budget is pretty significant. You can get a lot of content for that. Um, Speaking of content, I have been experimenting with like full service content companies. I think I even put a link in the description for. I did not put a description in there this time. But I have been working with a company. So I'll mention it next week. I already know that. So I've been working with a company, and it's like full service. They put it into WordPress for you. They can do some like keyword research if you need it. They understand like to not overuse keywords and stuff like that. I personally delivered, or I gave them, right? I gave them like keywords and titles. I gave them a loose example of what to aim for, turned them loose, see what they would do. It was a little sloppy at first, but that is how it goes, right? Without much instruction. I just wanted to see what they would do without any instructions. So what I have now is a pretty tight set of instructions for use with the content company. They know that I was busting their balls and like really like trying to like get them to deliver exactly what I wanted. And I let them know, right? At some point, I'm going to be sharing my story, my experience working with you. So let's make this good. And also, I'll be able to put together this set of style guidelines and general guidelines to follow that I can share with people that work with you. So that's part of it. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that is like for $2,000, I mean, you can get a lot of content that is fully managed for you. Now, if you want to hire the people yourself, I mean, you can get it for a lot cheaper. But again, part of what I'm trying to do is use services that I can recommend because I've used them as a customer, not just, oh, they have a good affiliate payout or anything like that. In fact, their affiliate payout isn't as like lucrative as some others. So I'm trying to, again, work with companies that I am using personally, which is one of the reasons why you generally have not seen very many affiliate, sort of pushes from me. All right. So Alex, I would say either in content or links. One layer to add on top of the content portion is actually I have a case study coming out next Monday. So keep an eye out for this. This is one of the times where it's coming out on the blog. There's going to be an interview on YouTube. There's going to be an interview on the podcast, all coming out on Monday. And it's about improving existing content. And in this case, I was able to, again, I worked with a service who, did everything for me. I paid for it. I had them analyze, audit, and had to rewrite whatever they needed to do content for 10 posts. Within 4 weeks, traffic was up 13% over the previous period, the previous month. Over last year, right? So I compared the month to the previous month, and I also compared the month to the same month in the previous year to remove any seasonality, and it was up like 20%. The point is, you can improve existing content and get a fast return. However, if you're getting links, it may be like months before the results and impact are seen. It may be several months. You maybe won't know until after a year. You're like, oh, was it the link or was it some other thing? It's almost like you don't know. So, and JVlog says you use Streamlabs OBS for live streams and Zoom Core Live Collabs. Both are great. For live collabs. Got it. I've had like poor experience like a couple times. I don't know if they've cleaned it up, but like when I've used it before, it was like garbage. And every time I have to use Zoom, I just loathe it. I don't know why. And it's all like tainted by that first experience. I'm like, it sucks and I hate it. A lot of people use it though, and I just can't figure out why. But I guess like I just had a bad experience the first couple times I used it. And then Streamlabs, I was sort of thinking about maybe using some other piece of software a little more sophisticated where I could like play a pre-recorded piece or something like that, which would potentially be awesome to have some live streams happening with pre-recorded stuff. So it's a little tighter. I can interact with the chat more. But the problem, I was just like, I don't want to learn anything new. It always will take longer than I expect. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get this new app. It should be great, right? And then it's just kind of a pain to get it set up. All right. Next. Oh, we have Adrian, what's going on, and Jaren as well. So Wadude says, is there any way to link the Amazon price dynamically on your site so it changes on Amazon, or so when it changes on Amazon, it changes on your site? Is it beneficial to have a price on your site or not? So, Wadude, number one, you're thinking about this in the right way. So the answer is yes. It doesn't. The way you phrased your question implies a few things, but I'll just cut through all that. Yes, you can use the Amazon advertising API if you have access to it, and then you can pull that information. If you're a coder, you can write your own interface using the API. If you are not, then you can use a tool like a plugin that will pull the price via the API. You cannot list the price without using the API, or you have to like update it every 24 hours or something like that. It has to be pulled every 24 hours, but the API typically is like a real-time like data pull in general. So that's the way most people do it. They use a tool like Amalinks Pro or EasyAzon or whatever. I'm an affiliate for both of those, by the way. And is it beneficial to have a price on your site? I don't know. It depends on the individual site. So you have to test it yourself. I don't list the price. I generally think the curiosity that someone has about checking the price is better than actually listing it there. So I don't list the price on my site, and it seems to be working fine. Other people would disagree with me, but I think it just matters like what your specific site is, the product, the niche. Like if you really want to get into it and test it, you can. But generally, I don't list the price. Don't list the price unless you're pulling from the API. Okay, what do? You should, there's a link in the description for frequently asked questions. you should go read all those questions. And then when you're on the site, you can click in the menu. There's something called Start Here. You should start there because I think it'll give you the information you're looking for. But I will answer your question here. And I can tell you it won't be super helpful, unfortunately. You need more context before it'll totally make sense. Okay. If you target a specific niche like beauty, would that be too broad? No. Unless you're trying to make a site that's very narrowly focused, in that case, then yes, it would be too broad. But there's no, broad or narrow, it can be fine. It just depends on what you're trying to do, your timeline, your budget, all that kind of stuff. Should your niche site be about one product? Generally, no. Unless you need it to be about one product, and then it's fine. A few products, that's better. That's more like what I would suggest. Can I make some other suggestions? So the other suggestion that I can make is it's a good idea to brand your site in a broad way, like beauty, for example, and then to focus early on a few products. That's the best approach. That way in the future, you can grow your site, you can add more products, and you can grow it into whatever you want it to be, right? It's bad if you focus on one product because then you're roped in. You painted yourself in a corner there, can't do much with it. You got one product, bad idea. Unless that is exactly what you need to do, right? WordPress themes, right? If you created a site on WordPress themes, that would be okay. There's a lot of them out there. You can cover that effectively. But there's a lot of options out there. So depends on what we're talking about. The point is, if you brand your site broadly and then focus narrowly in the beginning, then you have the ability to grow. If you want to, you don't have to. And it gives you the most options. Generally, that's what we want to do. We want to have options. So going back to like Cleaning Things has a site that he or she hates. It's not making much money. You don't like the topic and all that stuff. You don't have many options from there. You don't like the topic. It would have been better if you picked something that was more interesting and then you maybe be more into it. So, okay. And then I see we have, let's see. Okay, I missed a couple questions. Brandon says, am I also going to go over hiring editors for formatting the content and the writers write? In the webinar, generally, that's less important here, but yeah, I mean, it's, I could talk about that. Yeah, good question. AT Review says, what content mills do I recommend? So there's one that I have been working with, which I can share. I'll share a link in here. I'm an affiliate for them. And I could tell you that I've been working with them. I mentioned earlier, some of the early pieces were a little rough because I didn't really give any direction, but they're improving over time, and that's great. Additionally, I'll be able to share my exact set of guidelines and information, the status the status worksheet for the whole project that I've been using. So out of the gates, if you don't give them any instructions, and this applies to any company that you're working with, if you don't give instructions, you may end up with something different than you expected. So if you give them the guidelines, then you'll probably get some better material and something closer to what you're looking for. So anyway, if you sign up through my affiliate link and send me the confirmation and all that stuff, I can share with you the templates and all that stuff. Now, I don't have it in a finalized form yet, which is why I haven't been mentioning it. Still sort of cleaning that up a little bit. So anyway, I have been working with content development pros, and I believe you get a discount if you sign up through my link as well. I can't remember how much. I think it's 10%. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, content development pros. And I mean, the huge thing, there's a lot of services out there. And I work with multiple services, but like with what I was testing, with what I was trying to do, is publish a lot of content pretty quickly, because that's what I'm going to be doing for the aged Humanproof Designs site that I purchased. So I was like, I want to test out exactly what I need. So I've ordered 60 posts from them to be completed within 2 months, right? So they have different packages, different subscription packages. You save a lot of money, by the way, if you sign up for the subscription package. Again, full service, definitely more expensive than hiring the writers yourself, but you work with a project manager essentially, and they will interface with you. You get unlimited revisions. So if you have a look, you could give them notes and just say, too much fluff in this section, like clean it up a little bit, and they'll go and revise it. Unlimited revision. So that's a big deal. The crazy part is like if you order 30 articles per month, like they can do it. Can you imagine how many writers you have to work with to get that done? So that's it's pretty significant what you can do. And then the fact that they have like a team of people, right? So I'm going to have like my existing order in place, this first 60 articles that I ordered, and then I can also order another, 60 for another site. For example, the Humanproof Design site that I bought, and have them running in parallel. And I don't have to hire like twice as many people. I'm just working with the same project manager over there, and we just have another status sheet so I can see what's going on. You have to set them up with like a WordPress login if you want them to do that work. For me, I set up I have a blog post on this, by the way, that I'm drafting. It's scheduled for a few weeks out still, but I'm sharing some stuff here for the folks that hung on. So basically, I think it was an author account, an author role within WordPress, so that they can draft their post and upload images, but they can't really, they can't edit other people's stuff. And they can technically publish, but I don't want them to publish. I told them to only draft it. And then I'll go have a look at it so I can put my finishing touches on it. Okay. So yeah, content development pros. And if you do sign up with my link, I can share some of the information that I've basically my templates and the guides and stuff like that. So hopefully that is helpful. And I know I checked with other people that have used them as well, like before I signed up, just so I kind of knew what to expect and to make sure they were legit. So, okay. I think we're going to wrap up here before too long. We got a few things happening here. Couple more questions. So AT Reviews says, content development pros. So you registered a domain 12 years ago with one word. It's 6 letters. It's a great English word. It's collecting dust. How do you go about selling it? I have no idea. You probably you need to work with like a domain broker, most likely. There may be domain like broker marketplaces or something like that. So I would potentially look for that. But yeah, I expect that it would be like pretty valuable. No clue about the details, but and Jaron says you got an aged Humanproof Design site. You wrote a ton of articles, and now it's doing about 2,800 a month. So it's totally doable if you know what you're doing. And Jaron, this is great. We haven't caught up in a while. I sent you an email a while back, and I don't think I heard from you. So I was like, maybe he's busy. You're a busy dude, but it would be interesting to hear from you, right? So I will connect with you later. I would love to hear what you've done, right? How you did it, and then have you on all the platforms, right? I'm trying to repurpose as much as I can, but like to hear how you did it. And I know it's like less than a year, right? So I remember when we were chatting when I was back in Bozeman. Actually, remember I was walking around my yard when we were talking on the phone that day, when you were pitching the idea. So it'd be really interesting to hear like what it was doing, like right when you got it, and then how much content you put on. I know you write most of your stuff yourself. So yeah, it'll be very interesting. Very interesting. Awesome. Cool. Any other questions, folks? All right. And you said you've had the site for 10 months, but it was over a year old when you got it. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I would be thrilled if it was just a little ahead of schedule for a normal site. And I know the site that I purchased has, a decent number of keywords that it's ranking for. So just out of the gate. And actually, Jaron, while you're on here and we're just chatting, do you remember how many keywords were ranking when you first got it? Just curious. Cool. All right. And I see Abir hopped on. So just for the people that are just joining, we are wrapping it up right now. We're finished up. But you should sign up for the webinar this coming Tuesday. It's free. It's not on YouTube. It's going to be somewhere else. Not selling anything. And then you should also check out the income reports from Fat Stacks blog, John Dykstra. There's a link in the description. He pulled in I think it was 40K profit in May. And then Ron Stefanski from 1 Hour Professor, about 19,000 in May. So very good. They're doing well. You should check out their income reports. And okay. Jaron says about 250 keywords. Good to know. And it was already ranking #1 for 3 keywords that were bringing in traffic. That's right. It was just a trickle, but it was nice. And you also feel that it ranks significantly faster than a brand new site that you started. So it made it seem very worthwhile to me. Cool. And I don't want to spoil everything, but I'll ask one more question because it's cool if I can ask questions here. So Jaron, did you build backlinks in the process? And then you can just say yes or no. You don't have to give any details, because that's one of some of the case studies that I've heard. I knew yours was doing fine, but I was curious because I know that a lot of people were like, hey, I'm just going to pump it with content. So you're not going to build, or you did not build links. Okay. I'm going to build links. So, and I think that's a big fucking deal, right? So, you did, however, you put a lot of articles, you 10x the articles, and you had some writers. Okay. So you didn't build links. So I'm going to build links. Well, I'm going to taper it up. I'm not going to go crazy and build 30 links in the first month or anything. But I think it'll be interesting to see hey, if you put content on, and then if you build links at the same time, is it faster? Does it grow faster? What happens? So I'm very interested to see what will happen. And yeah. Okay. Unbiased review says how much were the cost of the site you purchased and how much you invested after purchasing. So that'll be another discussion for another day. By the way, there's a link in the description for Humanproof Designs, and you can see how much the sites cost. You can just go look. So it just depends on what you get. And that Jaron mentioned that half the content that he published, about 112 articles there, half of it was him, half of it was from writers. So, it all depends on where you're hiring the writers from. So, all right, Jaron, we will catch up, and thanks everyone for hopping on. We will see. I may do some more of these live stream. I keep saying that I'm going to do more, but I've just been busy doing things, so it does make it slightly more interesting for me to tell stories about stuff that I've been doing versus just answering, questions. All right, cool. Everybody have a good weekend. Don't forget, really cool content coming out next week on content improvements. There will be a pretty good discount for a specific service that I'll be talking about. So catch you later.